Okay, so how do we route an event grid event from Postman to an on-premises version of an Azure function to a function that's running on Azure and then to a logic apps that's going to send us an email? Well, watch this video and I'll walk you through it step by step. All right, so this is an end-to-end demo of event grid and routing one event to multiple subscribers using custom topics. Before we get started, just a quick recap of the event grid concepts. We have an event, and that's what happened. Something happened, and that's the event. We have the event publishers, and this is the source of the event, so where the event took place. One thing to notice here is that Azure has some event sources already pre-created. For example, an Azure subscription or an Azure resource group will be generating events into Event Grid for when things get created or deleted from inside them. Or blob storage, for example, is also a source of events that will generate an event for every time a new blob gets created or deleted. But what we're going to cover today is custom topics, and that's your own source of events. So if you're building an application that is generating events, then that's where you go with custom topics. The topics themselves, that's the endpoint of where publishers will send the events. So in the custom topic, your application is the event publisher and the custom topic that you create is the topic it's sending to. For all the Azure first party ones, they already have their topics pre-created, so you don't have to worry about creating a topic for blob storage. Blob storage will already have that topic pre-created for you. The event subscriptions then is a built-in mechanism inside of Event Grid where the events get routed to, sometimes to multiple subscribers, multiple handlers. So the subscriptions also include something like prefix and suffix filters so that you can filter on those events as well. So if you only, for example, want to handle events coming from a specific container inside of a blob storage, that will allow you to do that. And then finally, the event handlers. That's the app or the service that will be reacting to the events that came through from the topic and the specific subscription. Azure has a pretty great support for Azure Functions, Logic Apps, Azure Automation, and Event Hubs for you to route the events to. But you can also create any webhook that is HTTPS enabled to also receive a call about that event with the event data in it. So in this demo, we're going to go with the custom topic. So we'll be sending an event into that topic. And then we're going to create 3 event subscriptions, one on an Azure Function C# script on Azure, one Logic app. And then I'm also going to create a function on premises in my dev machine and route an event into the on-premises one so that we can see how you can develop a handler or an Azure function that handles events from your dev machine as well. So let's get started. Okay, so here I have the Azure portal. I'll start by creating a new custom topic in Event Grid, and I'll create the resource group for it at the same time. So Event Grid, if we search for Event Grid, we can see Event Grid topic there, and I'll create a new topic. I'll call it e.g. custom, and I'll also create a resource group of the same name. And that's going to go away and create that topic for me. Okay, now we have that topic. We can go to the resource here, have a look at the topic, and it's just a custom topic where we can now send events to and create subscriptions for those events to get routed. There's no subscriptions, there's nothing in it yet. So the first one is an Azure function here from the portal itself. So the simplest way to do it. So I'll create a function app, and that's where you can create multiple functions inside of it that are related to each other. So I'll create a new function app. I'll call it e.g. custom as well, and put it in the same resource group as the custom topic. I'll choose the same location, West US 2, and I'll let it create the subscription for me. Make sure to enable application insights whenever you create Azure functions, just so that you get all of the telemetry for that function. We're not going to show it in this demo, but it's always a good idea to enable application insights for your function. All right, it's going to create the function app for me. Okay, now we have that function. We can go to that function app here, e.g. custom, and now I can create a new function inside that function app. For event grid, you can both go towards an HTTP trigger or an event grid trigger. The event grid trigger is great because it takes care of the validation for you. Event grid has this notion of validation where you have to reply with a validation code when it sends it through, and the event grid trigger takes care of that for you. So let's create a new event grid based function. If I choose a custom one and I type event grid, you can see that I have the options here. I'll go with C#. I'll give it e.g. custom func as the name. You can give it any name you like. And it gives us some boilerplate code for our function here. And the first thing to notice is that it's sending us the event inside of this event grid event J object that we can then work with. So let's extract a couple of things. The events that I'm planning to send to this custom topic is an event that has information about motorbikes. So if I go to the documentation here under custom events, you see that it has an example of a Ducati bike being sent in. So that's what I'm going to use as the example one. So from our function, I just want to extract the make and model out of that event. So let's do write the code. So the make will extract from event grid event, and it's inside of data and inside of make, right? So if I go back just to show you again what the kind of event that we're going to be sending, this whole event is what's being sent into the function, and we're getting the make from inside of data. So that's why I'm extracting it like that. I'm also going to extract the model, exactly the same, but with model. So I'll just copy and paste here, model and model. And finally, I just want to log something about that make and model. So let's write some code here to say we've got a new bike of make and model model. Cool. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. Let me just fix a couple of things. And now we have our function that will extract the make and the model and then write out to the log of that function. One thing that we need to do as well is add the event grid subscription. You could go to the custom topic section in your Azure portal and create a subscription there, but because we are using the event grid trigger here inside this function, it gives us the option to do it here, and it'll give us this specific subscriber endpoint that is a special event grid trigger endpoint as well for our function. Okay, so just as a recap, what we're creating here is a subscription on the custom topic where we're going to send events to that will send those events into this new function that we're creating. So I'll call this subscription e.g. custom Azure Func. The topic type is event grid topic. So this is when you have a custom topic, that's a topic type that you choose. I'll choose the resource group where we put the custom topic and then choose that custom topic as well. You can create filters and you can subscribe to the specific event types if you like, but I will leave it as subscribe to all events. I'll create a subscription and wait for it to be created. Okay, it's telling me that the subscription was created, and I will have a look at the logs here as well, and I'll save this function so that it gets created. It says the compilation is succeeded, so our function is up and running, saved, and we have a subscription in that custom topic that will route events to this function for us. So the next thing that we need to do is send an event into the function. Let me open another instance of the portal here, and we'll pick up the details of our topic so that we can use it to send an event into that topic. So I'll go into our topic event, e.g. custom here. You can see that that subscription is already showing up here and sending events to our function. The three things that we need is this topic endpoint. I'll copy that, and that's where you would send an HTTPS post to with the event. The access key, this is what you need to add to the headers of the post that you're sending. And then finally, we need to populate this topic section of the event with our subscription ID and the resource group name, and then the name of our topic. So one way to do this is because we already have a subscription created here, we can click on the subscription and get that topic arm ID there. It should be pretty easy to build up those values as well by just getting the subscription GUID, the name of the resource group, and the topic. But since we have it here handy, I'll just get it from here. So with those three values, the topic endpoint, the access key, and this ARM ID, we are ready to send an event into our function. So I'll leave the portal running here with our function running and showing the logs. And I'll open Postman. You can use curl, you can use anything that you like to that can send a normal regular HTTPS post. I like to use Postman, so I'll use Postman here. And we will send a post to an endpoint. This is from a previously created one, so I'll replace that URL with the topic endpoint that we copied from before. In the headers of our post, you need content type application JSON, and then another entry in the headers, AEGs for Azure Event Grid -SAS -key with the value of that key that we copied before. And then finally, in the body, we're going to send that event or an array of events into the custom topic, but I need to replace this custom topic with the value that we copied before as well with that topic arm ID. So I'll replace that here. And now we're ready to send events. So I will click post here, send from Postman. It replied with 200 OK. And you can see here that it's already routed that event into my Azure function running on Azure. We've got a bike of make Ducati and model Monster. So that's the first one. Now that we have one subscription for our custom topic, let's create another one that is a logic app. Logic app has some great connectors that we can use. So I'm going to use one to send me an email about that event as well. So I'll create a new logic app here from scratch. I'll call it Event Grid Custom, put it in the same resource group that we've been using. WestUS 2 sounds good. If you want analytics from your logic app, you can also enable it here, and I'll create it. All right, the logic app has been created. And because it's an empty one, it gives us this designer option to start about creating a brand new one. And you notice that it already has one for when an event grid event occurs. So I'll start with that. First thing we need to do is sign in here, and it gives us the option to sign in. I'll choose my Microsoft account here. All right, now I'm signed in. I can continue. And now we are going to find that specific custom topic that we want to subscribe to. And basically, I'll choose my Azure subscription, resource type. Because it's a custom topic, it's microsoft.eventgrid.topics. And then it's going to list all of the ones that we have that are custom topics, and I'll choose EG custom. So what Logic Apps is going to do when I save this, it's going to create another subscription on that topic to route the same events into this Logic App. The next step, what I want to do is basically send an email. You have hundreds of different options here of connectors, and this is one of the great features of Logic Apps, and one that I'm going to use is basically send an email from Office 365. I'll sign in again with my account. And now I'm signed in. So I'll send myself an email. And I'm going to enter a subject of you have a new bike event, and in the body we can then extract details about that new event. So we'll say you have a new bike make, and to extract the information we can go into an expression here to extract data from inside of the body of the trigger, which is the event grid trigger. So I can say trigger body data make. Pretty straightforward. So that's going to populate it with the make and model, and I'll do the same for the model. Trigger body data model. And that's how you can extract information about the make and the model of the specific event that we're sending into this logic app. So that's it. It's going to send me an email whenever we get a new event. Cool, that's completed. Let me close this and we can have a look here. It hasn't run yet because I haven't sent any events. So let's go into Postman and send a new event to that same custom topic. All right, it sent the event. If I refresh here, in a couple of seconds, we should see that the logic apps ran and it succeeded. And if I open Outlook, it should have I should have a new email with that new bike event. You have a new bike make Ducati and model Monster. Okay, so the final subscription that I want to create to that same event is an on-premises running Azure function that we're going to create inside of Visual Studio Code. So I have an example Azure function here, event grid custom topic local func, and I cloned that locally and opened it inside, I opened the source path inside of Visual Studio Code. And you can see it has the function index and simple, and then in the index is where the code for my Azure function is. And here, the key thing that we need to do is this validation bit of the code. When you use logic apps or when you use the event grid trigger for the functions that you create on Azure, this validation is already taken care of for you. But if you are exposing a webhook outside of Azure or in non-whitelisted locations, you have to have this validation code response here as well. So they'll send, the event grid team will send a specific event of Microsoft.eventgrid.subscription validation event. And when they do, you need to respond with a body that says validation response with the same code that they sent in. So here is the actual code that would handle the real events that are coming in. So I'll put a couple of breakpoints, one for the validation and one for the actual events once the validation has been completed. And I will start my Azure function here. So I'll do func start, and func is the Azure Function CLI where you can start Azure functions. Cool. The next thing I need to do, I'll do is attach to Azure Functions. If you don't see this option, you should just do func init in the same folder as where your function code is. But now I'm attached to this locally running instance of the function. And the other thing that I need to do is somehow route an HTTPS exposed endpoint into my local dev machine. And one way that I like to do it is just by using ngrok. So I'll create a new terminal instance here, and we're going to configure ngrok to route those any calls to an ngrok endpoint into my local machine. To make it work, we'll run ngrok http, and if you don't have ngrok installed, you need to install it first. Then host header equals localhost, and then the port where the function is running. So if we look at here, my function is running on 7071. So in ngrok, I need to point it at that. So ngrok http host header localhost and then 7071. And this is how we can get an HTTPS endpoint that we can use in this new subscription for event grid. So I'll copy that value. I'll go to the portal where I have my custom topic here with the existing subscriptions, and I'll create a new subscription for it, and I'll call it EG custom local func. The subscriber endpoint is going to be that HTTPS version of the endpoint that ngrok gave us. And then we need to add, let me go back to Visual Studio Code here. We need to add the /API/function name to it. So I'll copy that part of it and paste it here. So that's the subscriber endpoint. So it knows to route straight into the code for our function running on premises. So when I hit create in a few seconds, it should hit our locally running Azure function. And because Event Grid is going to try to validate it, it's going into the validation part of the code here. So I'll let that continue so that it validates it, and then it creates a subscription properly. In a few seconds, it should finish the validation and then say our subscription has been created. So now if I refresh here, we have all 3 subscriptions for the same custom topic. Cool. So what happens if I send that event again from Postman? Let me send it through. All right, it's sent, and now immediately I get that event inside the actual event part of our function. I can debug it. I can see the details of the event. I can extract information from it. And if I let it continue, we can see that it's now logging. We've got a new car of make Ducati and model Monster as well. Cool. So now we have a custom topic where I send one event and it's routed to 3 different things. Let me rearrange my windows here so I can show you that event going to all 3. Okay, so here I have my screen split into 4 corners. At the top left, I have my locally running Azure function that was written in Node.js and that we're routing events to via ngrok, and it's currently debugging the events that are coming into it. At the top right, I have the Outlook account where the Logic Apps is going to send an email to. At the bottom right, I have the Azure running C# version of the function that is receiving events and log into the logs here. And then here at the left bottom corner, I have Postman that I'm using to send events, one event into that custom topic. So I will send a new event here, and it should route it to all 3. So you can see at the top right, it received the event. Here, it logged the event. And here, I received a new email. Cool. I'll remove this breakpoint so that it goes through again. And just to show you once more, I'll send the event. It's logged it here. It's logged it there. And I should get a new email in a couple of seconds. So that's the power of Event Grid, a push mechanism that can route events to multiple subscribers. And you can start thinking of how you can build your applications with this new eventing system that we have on Azure. I hope you learned something. If you have any further questions, please contact me on Twitter. I'm at NZTHIAGO. Thank you.